Hi, this is a quick video on a Hyundai 1.7 diesel engine. The engine is CRDI. It is in the Hyundai Tucson, the Kia Sportage, I40 and a few other of the Kia Hyundai family. And the issue with this motor was it was stalling and an engine light was coming up on the dash, and it was getting progressively worse, whereby it would only run for about 200 meters and then to die down in power and then cut out. And I kept doing that over the period of time until I got to a point where it was no longer drivable. And so it turns out it was the diesel filter, which is this one right here. It was the diesel filter that was causing this issue. And initially I overlooked this because I thought it was so simple it wouldn't be that was causing the problem. But I've now driven the car for about 600 kilometers, and there hasn't been an issue since I changed this filter. So this may be useful to somebody someday, so I just thought I'd make a quick little video, and now that I've identified this was the issue, and therefore replacing it, very easy to replace this. Just be careful of air locking because it's a diesel, so that's the only thing to be mindful of. And you do need to strip back. This was where the airbox would be, so you need to strip back the airbox, and then you need to strip out the battery, and after that then you have the ECU. Strip all that back, and then you demount the diesel filter off the bracket. So there's just a little bit of stripping. There's some of the components over there that come off. Take photographs if you wish of how to put it back on. Perhaps it looks a little bit messy now, but it isn't really once you get stuck in. And this it seems to be quite easy to disconnect this one. So the diesel filter fits into this little pot, which is here, and then the piping side of things, there is just that little green connector there on the top. That's the outlet, and then there's another one at the back, lower back, and that's the inlet. And then you just push them in. There isn't actually a green tab on the one in the back. There is on the one on the top. And the same means you just push. I call it plug and play. Now I do not like the seal in here on that. There seems to be potential to weep, or in this case might be a slow weep. So a good tip for that is when it's all done, clean everything all down with a rag, and then drive for 100 kilometers or so, and then check if any leaks again or something like that. So that's something to be mindful of. Again, them plug and play connectors. And then the electrics, you just have two connectors to go in like so. You can't mix them up. One is a 2-pin and one is a 3-pin, so that's going to be pretty simple. And so that's just your little, it's like a water sensor. So you just unscrew that from the filter. I'll just show you the original one so you get an understanding of it. There you go. So that's the plug on the bottom, and then on the top where the housing goes, you just screw it in that manner. These are just generally hand tight plus a little bit extra. Now there is a torque setting available for this. I've never torqued them. I don't think there's any need, so I just go hand tight as I say, and then just give it a nice firm squeeze with I suppose a tool. You could use something like this if you wish. This guy. So something like that tool. You could wrap that around the filter just to give it a torque. They're all these tools are pretty generic. You can just wrap it around like that. The filter in here, and then torque it down. That one is made by Beko. So you could try something like that if you wish to give it a little bit of a extra hand tight. And when I was at it, off the phone there. When I was at it, I actually replaced the air filter as well. The air filter wasn't causing the issue, but I said I'd do it anyways, so it looks pretty mucky. Now there's a really good tip if you're ever working on filters, regardless pretty much what it is. This is a really good rule of thumb for most filters. So if you're ever unsure whether the filter is blocked, just do this. Just shine it up to the light. And if there's light coming through to most parts, you might have to go at it from different angles. The filter is not blocked. Now it may be restricted, yes, but you know, it can still be functioning. So that's one way of assessing a filter. So that's a top tip on that one. Now back to the diesel filter again. So you're looking pretty good there at that. So this now is the top where that screws on, and then you just a little sensor here on the bottom, 3 little mounts here to mount it onto the chassis, and then 2 little screws here to mount this pot onto the filter. So then that's that pretty good. And then when it is all fitted back in place again, I push down this guy. Now some people like to fill the filter with diesel fuel before you start bleeding it. There was no need in this particular one. So this is a manual hand pump. So when you're ready to start up the engine, what I did was just disconnect the outlet, just disconnect them here, and then you keep pumping that spring loaded diaphragm, just keep pumping him until you see fuel coming out. Now I did have to restrict the outlet with just, you know, my finger. That will create a little bit of back pressure, which will actually give you something to pump against, so to speak. So then you just slowly just let it bleed out over your finger or something like that. That's how I actually got fuel to come out the line, and then pushed in your little plug and play connector again when you had a nice flow of fuel from a manual pump, and then it actually started up first go without any issues. So that's quite good when you get that running without any air in the system. So plug it all back up again, do all your reconnecting, and it worked a treat. So the cost of that filter, the fuel filter, was about, I think it was about €18, give or take. So it was a very cheap fix for what considering that it made the car unfunctioning anymore. So it was fixed for about 18 quid. And then the original filter that was in it before that, it did about 60 kilometers of driving. So just so you can gauge how it was able to function, or I should say the life of the filter. That was the life of the filter, 60,000 kilometers. It probably should have been done before that, but in this case it wasn't. And then the air filter cost about €15. So I said I'll just do that anyways. And that's pretty much it. I hope this is helpful to someone someday. And this 1.7 diesel engine, it seems to be quite robust. It is geared up for the low carbon emissions, so I think it's inevitable for that system, as many of them low carbon emissions engines, such as your DPF, etc. That probably will give trouble someday, but in saying that, it's a good engine. I would recommend it, and even the Kia itself, the car. This one is a Sportage. Seems to be quite good and quite good value for money. So when I'm talking about the topic, it's worth mentioning that this 1.7 diesel engine seems good. I'd recommend it as I would with the car. So okay, I hope this was helpful, and take care. Bye now.